Now, as many of you know, I live out in the country, and I like to garden. And I have a very big trough built into my backyard. I use it to water the garden and things like that. And normally the water level is up about here. Well, we've had a lot of drought and whatnot in the last few years. I've got a problem. Water level isn't here anymore. It's come down about like this. And it's starting to show the bottom of the trough and getting some cracks in there. And it's not good. So we're trying to figure out how to raise the level of water in the trough. And I'm looking at this, I'm looking at this. I called over one of my neighbors. They got a couple kids in college, and they're pretty bright kids. I said, give me some ideas on this. So they looked at it, and they studied the problem, and they said, we got it. We're going to take a big old bucket, like so. I'm going to scoop water out of this side of the trough and pour it into this side of the trough and see if that fills the trough. And so they get up there and they pull the big bucket of water out and they walk around, they pour it in there, and it did actually cover that side of the trough momentarily, and it created a little ripple in there, but didn't really change the water level. But they said, but it looked promising. It looked really promising. So went and called a couple of his buddies and said, we're going to do this a lot more. So they got a bunch of buckets, and all these guys, they're scooping up big buckets of water, they're running around as fast as they can, and they're pouring the water into the other end. Unfortunately, they're going so fast, they're sloshing around, water splashing out outside the trough, and a couple of these guys, quite honestly, were a little klutzy, and they trip over their shoelaces, and they dump the entire bucket of water. So now, after doing this for a while, now the water level is down to here. Not good. So, sorry, hold on. Stop what you guys are doing. Let's think about this a little more. This isn't working. What can we do about this? So these guys tried to cajole me into thinking. They said, we got a better idea. We're going to drill a hole right here, and we're going to drain all this water out so we can pour it into the other side. And they were really pressing hard on that. Of course, I finally had to slap them upside the head and say, not a good idea. That's not going to work. Even I know that. So I ask you, what can we do here to raise the level of water in the trough? Kids.
Put rocks in the tank?
That's an interesting idea. Put some rocks down in the, kind of fill it up down the bottom. That would work. It would raise the level of water. I think you'd have to put an awful lot of rocks in there. And it would create some problems at the bottom end of the trough. So that's not a bad idea, but not necessarily a great solution. Called over another neighbor who's a crusty old farmer. Been doing this for years and years and years. And he looked at these couple of college boys and said, you idiots. What we're going to do, I'm going to draw this here. We're going to grab the garden hose. And we're going to run a hose into the tank, and we're going to turn on the spigot, and we're going to put more water in the tank. Guess what? The water level starts to go up. It's not going up a lot, but at least it's not going down. It's kind of a steady state. It goes up a little bit, goes down a little bit. I said, well, this is an improvement. We're still not quite there yet. But you might be onto something with this hose thing. You might be on something with this hose thing. So what if, instead of the hose, we took something a little bit bigger? There's my little kind of fire hydrant there. We put a bigger hose. Could we actually affect the level of water in the tank with a bigger hose? Yes, we could. That's the answer. You guys get any thought what I'm talking about here?
About taxes?
This is close. This is our economy. This is our economy. It is absolutely impossible to get more water in the tank by taking a bucket, sloshing water outside the tank, and trying to fill the lower end with the water in the tank. You have to increase the volume, the water in the tank, to have the level of water rise. What dictates how much water goes in? It's the size of the hose. In economic terms, what is that? This is the velocity of money. The velocity of money dictates how fast that tank fills. Velocity of money is how fast transactions turn, how much economic activity we have. When you have a lot of activity, you have a bigger hose. When you have a little bit of activity, you have a small hose. You turn off the spigot, you have no hose. So the key question, as we try to get out of the economic nest that we have found ourselves in the last quite a few years, is do things that give us a bigger hose. Do things that increase economic activity so that we have more transactions, which creates wealth for every single person in the country. Very simple. Anything that turns off the spigot, or crimps the flow, or puts a kink in the hose, is not going to increase the speed at which we raise the water in the tank. It's going to be a problem if we can't quite get a handle on this. Now, I don't know, we're trying to put the politics aside. We've been political junkies the last quite a few months. Got to unplug from that a little bit. Too crazy. Takes up too much time. But I do want to focus over the next several months. Me personally, I encourage each of you to do this. Figure out how to get growth going in your life, in your business. Figure out how to turn on that spigot and get it to flow. Because that is the only way we're going to have personal prosperity, and through that, it ratchets up to our communities, our state, ultimately to our nation. Thank you. Mr. Boltzmann.